don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty excited to talk about this new Alkaline Trio album. Hey everyone, it's Michael. Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about Alkaline Trio's new album. I saw some confusion about this online, so just to make it clear, this album is going to be the last Trio album with longtime drummer Derek Grant, so all the drumming on this album was done by him, and Trio's new drummer is going to be Adam Willard. Adam has been in a lot of bands: Angels and Airwaves, Social Distortion, Against Me, and now Alkaline Trio. And if you want another treat in addition to the new Trio album, you should listen to Lectron. So that band has Matt Skiba, Adam Willard, AFI's bassist Hunter Bergen, and guitarist Randy Moore. Lectron gives us a little sneak peek at what Trio might sound like in the future, because obviously the band has Matt Skiba and Adam Willard in it. They have 2 songs out right now. They are going to do a big full tour, and there's going to be a full-length album at some point in the future. The band did a lot of press around the album, so I wanted to talk about a few things that stood out to me. Matt and, of course, longtime Alkaline Trio member Dan Andriano, they had worked on music completely separately, and apparently they had an entire album's worth of music, but they decided to scrap all of that and record everything in one room together with Derek, and that's something that Matt picked up from his time in Blink-182. The album is dark. A lot of the lyrics and a lot of the just general topics are very dark. The band said that a lot of what happened in 2020 influenced the album. The album's dark and grim title actually comes from Matt's mom, and that's something that she would say while working at the ER here in Chicago. Dan said this about the album, and I had to blur out some words and remove some words because of YouTube. There's so much evil in the world right now. Kids dying from drugs, kids killing each other with assault rifles, as well as a multitude of wars happening all over the world. But I want people to know we're here for them. It's a dark record, but there are moments of hope. Andriano described writing Blood, Hair, and Eyeballs as a cathartic experience. The power of music is pretty wild. Matt also talked about seeing other legacy bands releasing new music. There's also just this influx of new music from bands like Green Day and Blink. Of course, we're all different bands, but seeing that creativity and having a new generation invested in the scene is very, very inspiring. With all of that fresh in our minds, let's get to the album. The album opens up with Hot for Preacher, and that guitar riff, first of all, gets stuck in your head, and I think that's going to go down as a legendary Trio guitar riff. The song is one of the best on the album. I think it's going to be a song that Trio plays for a long, long time. I know we've had Bad Time for a long time, but I love everything about that song. The lyrics, the guitars, the drums, the bass, everything. That song is so catchy. It's been stuck in my head ever since I heard it. And when I heard that song, which I believe, right, is the first song that we got from this album, I knew we were going to get a great, if not a phenomenal album from Alkaline Trio. Shake With Me, I think that guitar, the whole vibe of that song, I think it's just quintessential Alkaline Trio. I really liked all the singles that we got before this album was released. Of course, Bad Time, which I talked about, but the title track is great, catchy. Another song, as soon as we got that one, I was like, okay, I know this album is going to be great. And then, of course, versions of You, a Dan song, another great song. You know, the first half of this album, I think is just, you know, a banger after banger after banger. And saying that, you might think that the Trio album is, you know, just front-loaded, but you can easily make the argument that the last 2 songs on this album are the best songs on the album. Broken Down Time Machine is the best dance song on the album, and I want to dive into the lyrics. Brings me back here at the worst time, as if things weren't bad enough when you ruined me here the first time. I can't go away, not now, not again, not today. I was born in a time machine, broken down at some gruesome scene. Sometimes it works in reverse. And so I really would hurt. I got used to numbing so comfortably, locked in here with what's haunting me. Now I don't dare turn my back. That's when I get attacked. I'm broken down in a time machine. The album ends with Teenage Heart, and I love that little uh-oh, or whatever, that little, like, those 2 words. I couldn't really make out exactly what they are, that come, like, every pre-chorus, I guess, or whatever that is. That did it for me. We have to talk about the lyrics on this song. Almost more than any other song on the album, this one embodies all the darkness and chaos that has happened over the last few years, at least here in the States. I got the aches and the pains and the poison in the veins, so come on. I got the hurries and the worries, and the good times won't last long. I got the shakes and the quakes and the world in my wake, so I think I sweat, I pretend to sleep, and I'm waiting to break like a teenage heart in America. All I want for Christmas is an AR-15, my stocking stuffed with fentanyl, drop like a fly at the ripe age of 16, wishing I had a friend to call. This is Alkaline Trio's 10th album, and I do want to touch on something that I talked about in my Green Day review, and it's something that Matt touched on earlier as well with his quote about, Blink and Green Day still releasing new music. We should not take for granted that these legacy bands are releasing new music in 2023 or now 2024, of course, and I don't think Alkaline Trio is going anywhere by any means, and I'll get into what the band said about the band's future in a second here. But again, whether it's Blink, Green Day, or Alkaline Trio now, enjoy the new music that we're getting. The new music is good. It'd be one thing if the new music, couldn't touch anything that Alkaline Trio had done in the past, but this is just another solid addition in Alkaline Trio's catalog, and if their legendary status needed to be any more solidified than it was before this album completely solidifies Alkaline Trio as legends. Speaking about the band's future, I want to quote what the band themselves said about Alkaline Trio's future. Despite the various projects both Skiba and Andriano have worked on over the years, they've always returned to Alkaline Trio. I don't feel like the band's going anywhere, said Andriano. When Matt joined Blink, I didn't need to ask about the future of Trio. We always said we'd do this until it wasn't fun, and we haven't got there yet. Skiba added, I had a great time with Blink, but it felt like I was staying on somebody's very fancy floor. With Alkaline Trio, Dan and I are basically brothers. There's a closeness there. The band feels like home to me. If it wasn't obvious, I'm a pretty big Alkaline Trio fan. I've lived in Chicago, grew up here, lived here my whole life. So Alkaline Trio, being from Chicago, I just have that little bit of an extra relationship to the band, I guess. Getting into punk rock and emo for the first time, whether it was, I guess, high school. I think that's pretty much when everybody kind of forms, themselves and explores different music that they just, don't hear on the radio or in pop culture or whatever. But even in 7th and 8th grade, Fall Out Boy had just exploded around that time. I think Dance Dance had just come out. So people were a little bit divisive about Fall Out Boy, but at least for, me and my friends and even the older kids, Rise Against and Alkaline Trio were the one bands that, nobody disagreed on. We all kind of collectively agreed that they were awesome and they kicked butt. So everybody, it was cool to come, to school with, at least my high school, we didn't have a uniform or anything. So you could, it was cool to come to school in a Alkaline Trio or a Rise Against shirt. So of course, Alkaline Trio, I just had that little bit of a connection, a little bit of extra connection to them. And even a few years ago when I did my Alkaline Trio tier list that everybody keeps commenting on, so I'm grateful that you guys have liked that video and checked it out, or the short version or the YouTube Shorts version of it. Armageddon is my favorite album. Not that that's a shocker for anybody, but even leading up to that, I don't know how other people do it, but I literally listened to nothing but Alkaline Trio the week leading up to that, to me recording it, because I wanted it to be as authentic as possible. And Alkaline Trio, probably not my favorite band in the world, is probably still the Menzingers at this point, but Alkaline Trio is up there. But it's not like I've heard every single song the trio ever released, every B-side and stuff like that, and so I wanted to make that video as authentic as possible. So it's just cool that Alkaline Trio is one of these legacy bands that has there's so much staying power, and again, not something that we should take for granted. This new album is great. Is it the best Alkaline Trio album of all time? Maybe somebody. I'm sure it's going to be somebody's favorite Alkaline Trio album. I really like This Addiction and My Shame Is True, and if the comments are to be believed on that tier list I put out a few years ago, not a lot of people share that sentiment, but they are for me. They're nostalgic for me. This Addiction, I will double check this when I make the edit, came out when I was in high school or very early college, so that album is very nostalgic to me, right? Even though I think Armageddon is Trio's best album. So I'm sure this album is going to have that same effect for somebody, and some kid getting into Alkaline Trio, or maybe even some longtime fan. Let me know in the comments. This might be your favorite Trio album, but to me that doesn't even matter. We're getting new Alkaline Trio in 2024, and that's all that matters. That's awesome. Just checking, and yes, This Addiction came out in 2010, so that would have been my junior year in high school. So I'm nostalgic for that album. I love that album. I got the green vinyl re-release. It's somewhere over there off camera. But anyway, let me know what you thought about Alkaline Trio's new album in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't, check out all the other videos on the channel, and thanks for watching.